What up, Screen Fiends? I'm GB, and you're tuned in to Headz TV, where we like to discuss all the wonderful things appearing on your movie and your TV screens. In this episode, we're going to have another Star Wars discussion. In this one, we're going to talk about Star Wars Episode 1, The Phantom Menace, and we'll just get into some of the things that everyone complains about. And I'm going to talk about what I liked, what I didn't like, what I thought worked, and what I thought didn't work for the movie. And of course, I'll explain to you why. I'll try and wrap this up as quick as I can, because I could talk about this stuff all day long. Alright, so the first thing I hear people complain about a lot is the title of the movie. They say all the other titles are great titles, and then this one just doesn't fit. Well, it actually fits pretty good. I mean, it may not have the same sound as a lot of the other titles have, right? But it has to do with the movie in a great way. Because the Phantom Menace is what we're dealing with, right? So the Jedi think that the villain, the antagonist of the movie, is the Trade Federation and the droid army. But in all actuality, we know as the audience that it's really this Phantom Menace, this bad guy in the background that's unseen, the Emperor and the Sith. So the Jedi doesn't even know that the Sith are still around. They think that they're long dead and extinct. So it is a Phantom Menace. It is a phantom, an unseen entity that is a menace causing problems. So it totally works. And if you think about Episode 4, the title is A New Hope, which is introducing us to the heroes, right? It's introducing us to the people who are going to save the day. A new hope for the galaxy. And then this one is introducing us to the villain. So Episode 1 is introducing us to who is going to cause the problems for the entire franchise of the film. And I personally think that works brilliantly. So there you go. All right, next. Jake Lloyd as Anakin. I agree with this 100%. There was other childhood actors that were way more talented. I don't want to beat up on a child actor because they're trying their hardest, they're doing their best, and it comes to a point where they're only as good as the director. So not to beat up George Lucas either, but it's somebody's fault for the casting. It's somebody's fault for maybe not directing the kid right. A name that comes to mind that I'm pretty sure was a young age at this time was Haley Joel Osment. He was a great child actor, and he would have been fantastic in this role. So there were other options. I'm sure there were tons of other childhood actors out there that were equally qualified, better qualified than Jake Lloyd to play that role, honestly. And like I said, I hate to beat up on a child actor, but that's my feelings on it. They should have casted better. The biggest misstep they made throughout the movies was the casting of Anakin. Even with Hayden Christensen, I don't mind Hayden Christensen. He's all right, but they could have gotten a more talented person to play it. But having somebody who's not super talented, and I'm sorry, Hayden, I'm sorry, you're a good actor, but in this role, you came off a little hokey and a little cheesy. But that works for Star Wars because the original trilogy is a little hokey and a little cheesy, especially when you're dealing with Luke. So it fits the aesthetic of the world. And I really don't mind it all that much with Hayden Christensen, but the Jake Lloyd was really bad. And the lady who played the mom was pretty bad too. Alright, so yeah, I agree with that one, okay? I don't mind it. Now, another one I hear is the time frame that it takes place. A lot of people complain and they say that the whole trilogy should have been like the Clone Wars, or we should have been dealing with Anakin at like 20-something years old, or an older teen or something like that. And I disagree. I think having it take place at the age of 8-10 years old like they did adds depth to the character of Anakin and Darth Vader. Seeing Vader at this stage of his life where he's completely innocent, where there's no anger in him, there's no sadness in him until the Jedi take him away from his mother. Before that, he's a happy-go-lucky kid. So I think it's essential to see that point in his life where he's innocent, and then that direct point where the Jedi cause his emotions to start to go in a negative route. So I personally think that this was the perfect time period to have the first movie take place. They could have maybe made Anakin a little bit bigger of a part, maybe made his training part of the movie. I kind of agree with that, but I don't mind it so much. Now, the next complaint that I hear about all the time is the Trade Federation stuff and all the political stuff. This is essential. You need this. Look, let me just explain something to you if you don't understand. The start of the war that happens in this movie on Naboo is the start of the Clone War, which basically kicks off the entire 6 movies. Without this event happening, with all of the Trade Federation and all that stuff, and the treachery with Palpatine working the strings behind and trying to gain power, without all of that, you don't have the other 5 movies that come after it. So it's essential. I don't get how people complain about that. They say, oh, it's boring. The original trilogy has parts that's boring. All right, look, I love it all. I can even get into the slow parts because I read deep into things and I like character moments. So I can really get into that. If you know my affections for what's going on TV right now with the writing, where I'm in like heaven with the writing, a lot of it is slow stuff. I like that stuff, okay? So I don't mind it, but I can watch my kids, right? And I can learn through them. And I watch them watch the movies. And whether it's the prequels or it's the original trilogy, or it's The Force Awakens, or it's Rogue One. There's parts of the movies where I see them tinkering with whatever technologies in front of them because they know, they find certain parts boring. So when those parts come up in all of those movies, they get uninterested. And then when the action or the funny or the quicker paced stuff comes back up, they're back into it. And that's just how it is. And it's good storytelling. You got to have those moments that explain and that build on character and story. You have to have it. It's essential for good storytelling. If they didn't have the Trade Federation stuff, you'd probably say, well, I don't understand how the Empire did what they did and became what they did. They did a perfect job of setting up the next movies in there, even though 3 of those movies had came out already. You know what I mean? They did a good job of it. I like all the Trade Federation stuff. And all the stuff with Palpatine, to me, was amazing. The way he worked it and the way he became into power, to me, was great throughout the course of the 3 movies. I loved it. Personally, I absolutely loved it. All right. As far as, all right, that's pretty much all the stuff I hear people complain about. And the CGI. But honestly, the CGI was cutting edge for its time. George Lucas was always cutting edge for his time when it came to his special effects in all of his movies. And yes, going back and looking at it, they may not be the best now to today's standards. But if you try and put yourself in that mind of that time frame, if you were, alive and a coherent person at that time and weren't a little baby, then you would remember that it was the better CGI from what was coming out at the time. So, yes, they should go back and retouch it. If they went back, Lucas did it. I shouldn't say they, because Disney didn't do it. But if you can go back and tinker with the original trilogies and add things and make them better, or the colors more vibrant, or whatever, then you can go back to the original trilogy, to the prequel trilogy, and touch up some of those graphics and make them a little bit more like today's standards. I know there's only so much they could do, within budget constraints and whatnot, but come on, Star Wars, it's going to make money no matter what. Yeah, so that's pretty much it on what I hear people complain about. And the Midichlorians, I forgot the last thing, the Midichlorians. Alright, I'm not going to say I love the Midichlorians, but I like the Midichlorians. You know why? It adds science to the magic. It's like what Marvel does with the MCU. They kind of make magic science that we don't understand yet. And that's what Midichlorians are. It's science that we don't get yet. That's what the Force is. Science that we don't get yet. And I like that. And they only mention it the once, so it's not that big of a deal, Could they have gone a different way? Yeah. Should they have just said he's a child of the Force? Yes. Then people wouldn't be complaining as much, okay? But I don't mind it. It like I said, it makes the Force organic first off, and not just magical. It's still magical and mystical and wonderful and amazing and all that stuff. It doesn't take away from any of that. It just makes it more grounded and gives it roots and makes it more biological and more organic. I said organic already. I like it. It doesn't bother me one bit. But yes, I agree. They could have went a better route. As far as the standouts for the movie, like what I think is like who did the best job in the whole movie, honestly, it's Ray Park. Now, Liam Neeson was good, and Ewan McGregor was good, and Natalie Portman was really good. I like what they did with her character a lot. She had felt a lot like Leia. I like how she was a queen because it gives Luke and Leia like real royal blood, you know, and not like adopted royalty. You know what I mean? Like they actually come from royalty. I like that. It just makes them more regal in nature. You know, when you watch the originals, knowing that. So yeah, honestly, everyone was good except for the ones I complained about already. But honestly, Ray Park has such a presence, that's Darth Maul, in this movie, that you're stuck to the screen. Not only does he look amazing and look so cool, he's just terrifying and such a presence on the screen. It's amazing. From everything from his fighting and the choreography he did with all of that, to his demeanor, just to the way he carries himself. Amazing. And it was upsetting that he died. I get it for Obi-Wan's story arc. Obi-Wan needed it to be pushed forward. See, Obi-Wan needed it. He kills Darth Maul and it propels him to more good, where he'll never do something like that again. Whereas when Anakin does it to Dooku, it propels him more to the dark side. So it's a great parallel in the Obi-Wan Anakin. I'll probably do a separate video on that eventually. So Darth Maul, he stole the show to me. Everything about him, you wanted more. And when he died, you were upset that the villain died because you wanted him to be in the next movie. So, kudos to Darth Maul for that. As far as production standouts, I'm going to give it to, the special effects, man. The special effects and the overall story were great to me. George Lucas did it, just like he did it with the original. Kudos to George Lucas and the whole team there. I think the movie felt great. It was like a cleaner world, so it felt like a different time than what we were used to in Star Wars. It felt like a more vibrant, full of life era, and that's what it was. It wasn't a time where they were being ripped apart by war and dictatorship. So it made sense that it was cleaner and felt more colorful and vibrant. So I like that. I like the aesthetic of the movie. So I'm going to give it to the whole visuals of the movie, and the overall story to me was perfect. Wouldn't have changed the story at all. So I mean, I really enjoyed A Phantom Menace. It's my least favorite of all of the movies. I will admit that. It's definitely my least favorite. I like all the other movies, Rogue One, Force Awakens included, more than I like A Phantom Menace. But is it a bad movie? No, it's not. Is it a good addition to the mythos? Yes, it does good things for the story. As far as characters, it does great things for Anakin, great things for Palpatine, great things for Obi-Wan. It presents Yoda in a way that we're not used to seeing him for the first time. They did a good job with that. I love what they did with Padme, and like I said, how you see reflections of Luke and Leia in her, and you see how they came from her. And the missteps they did with this movie, most of them I listed, to me are still okay. The only ones that I would totally change are what they did with the Gungans and what they did with the casting on Anakin, and that's really it. So, all in all, this was a decent movie, man. If I had to give it a rating right now, honestly, as a Star Wars fan, I give it a 4.0. As a hardcore Star Wars fan, putting the whole mythos into it, which I have to, being a Star Wars fan. So I can't judge it as a standalone. I have to put it in the mythos. I give it a 4.0 out of 5. If you're not a huge Star Wars fan, if you can look at it as a solo movie, then honestly, give it a 3, 3.0. It's an average movie. 3.0 out of 5. It's an average movie if you're not a Star Wars fan. If you're a Star Wars fan, it's a good movie at best. So that's it for this one. Sound off down below. Let me know what you think about the Phantom Menace. I had to record this twice. My first video was 30 minutes, dude. When I love this stuff. When I get into it, I get going. I had to re-record it. I don't like editing, so I had to re-record it. All right, so sound off down below. Let me know what you think about the Phantom Menace, or just Star Wars movies in general, or anything that I said in this review. Let me know what you think about this video itself. The good, the bad, the ugly. Help me improve. Let me know what I'm doing right, what I'm doing wrong, what I can change. Any suggestions? I'm open. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe if you like the video. It helps up my confidence and makes me smile. And it also helps YouTube know that you guys like me beyond just views. Because actually YouTube needs to know more than just by views. They need to know that you like me through interaction. And that's comments, likes, shares, subscriptions, that sort of thing. So, yep, check out my channel for any other Star Wars or Cosmic Galactic videos. There'll be more to come all month of May for the May the 4th be with you stuff. That's it for this one. Thank you so much for watching. Sorry to take up so much of your time. You guys have a great day, and I will see you next time.